By midnight, Hannah Brooks had lost her pack. By dawn, 3 royal children were sleeping against her. The first betrayal had come at the Frost Hollow meeting hall, where Elder Margaret Shaw had stood beneath the carved wolf crest and told Hannah that winter stores could no longer support someone who had never shifted. "You are 27, Margaret had said. "If your wolf has not come by now, it will not." Hannah had refused to beg. She packed 1 coat, 1 change of clothes, a sewing kit, and the little money she had saved. Then she walked into the snow while the pack doors closed behind her. 3 miles later, the storm swallowed the road. Ice gathered on her lashes. Snow filled her boots. When she found the abandoned ranger cabin beneath a stand of pines, she nearly cried from relief. The roof leaked in one corner, but the fireplace still worked. Hannah coaxed a weak flame from dry kindling and sat close enough to feel warmth return to her hands. Then something scratched at the door. Once. Twice. Hannah froze. The scratching came again, followed by a soft whine. She opened the door only a few inches. A silver-gray wolf pup shot past her boots and disappeared beneath the old table. "Well," Hannah whispered, "you are either very brave or very lost." The pup stared at her with pale blue eyes. He was trembling, but she saw no blood, no limp, no sign of serious injury. Hannah broke a piece from the last biscuit in her bag and set it on the floor. The pup waited until she moved away before eating. 10 minutes later, someone knocked. Not scratched. Knocked. Hannah opened the door and found 2 children standing in the snow. A boy around 9 held the hand of a girl who looked 7. Both wore expensive winter coats beneath layers of snow. "Is Sam here?" the girl asked. Hannah glanced at the table. The pup's ears lifted. "If Sam is the little wolf hiding under my chair, yes." The girl pushed past Hannah with a breath of relief. The older boy remained at the threshold. "We cannot stay long." "You cannot stay outside," Hannah said. "That part is not negotiable." He hesitated, then entered. They gave only first names. Noah, Lucy, Sam. No surname. Hannah noticed all 3 wore matching silver clasps shaped like a crowned wolf, but Frost Hollow sat far from royal roads, and she did not recognize the crest. She did recognize fear. "Who are you running from?" she asked. Noah's shoulders stiffened. Lucy answered first. "Not from someone." Noah looked at her sharply. "Lucy." "What?" she snapped. "She already knows we ran." Hannah held up both hands. "You do not have to tell me tonight." That surprised them. She divided her only blanket into 3 uneven sections, gave Noah her dry socks, wrapped Lucy's hands in strips torn from an old towel, and left the pup closest to the fire. Then warmth shimmered across the floor. Hannah stared as the silver-gray pup vanished and a 5-year-old boy appeared in his place, curled inside an oversized sweater. Sam blinked up at her. "Do you have more biscuit?" Hannah laughed despite everything. "That was your biggest concern?" "Yes." Near dawn, exhaustion finally won. Hannah fell asleep sitting against the wall. When she woke to the sound of horses outside, all 3 children were pressed against her. Sam was curled against her side. Lucy had one hand gripping her sleeve. Noah sat awake, watching the door. Then a man's voice cut through the storm. "Noah, Lucy, Sam." Every child went still. Hannah pushed herself upright. "Do you know him?" Noah nodded. Lucy did not move. Sam shifted back into wolf form and stood in front of Hannah. The door opened. A tall white man filled the frame, snow across his dark coat, exhaustion carved into his face. Behind him stood riders wearing royal colors. Hannah understood the silver clasp's one heartbeat before one of the men outside said, "Your Majesty." The Alpha King looked at the 3 children. Relief broke across his face. He took one step forward. All 3 moved at once. Noah stood between him and Hannah. Lucy grabbed Hannah's hand. Sam bared tiny teeth from the floor. The Alpha King stopped. Hannah stared at them, then at him. She had been thrown into the storm because one pack believed she was worth less without a wolf. By sunrise, the 3 children of the most powerful wolf in the north had decided she was the person they would stand in front of. The Alpha King did not move again. His eyes went first to Noah, then Lucy, then the little silver-gray wolf standing in front of Hannah, as if 5 pounds of determination could stop an entire royal search party. Relief softened his face, but confusion followed quickly. "You are safe," he said. Noah nodded once. Lucy tightened her grip on Hannah's hand. Sam gave a small warning growl. The king looked at Hannah. "Did you find them here?" "They found me." His gaze dropped to the blanket scraps. the damp socks near the fire, and the empty biscuit wrapper on the table. Were they hurt? Cold? Tired? Frightened? Nothing worse. The breath he released sounded like a man who had been holding it for hours. Then he stepped forward. Sam growled again. Hannah felt the tiny wolf press against her shin. Sam, the king said gently, it is me. The pup did not move. Lucy lifted her chin. Do not order her around. The king stopped. Not because Hannah asked him to. Because his daughter did. One of the riders behind him shifted in surprise, but the king only looked at Lucy. I was not going to. Good. Noah glanced at his sister. Lucy. What? He was thinking it. Hannah almost smiled despite herself. The king noticed. I am Ethan Cole. She stared at him. I gathered the king part. The man behind him cleared his throat. Your Majesty, the pass is worsening. Hannah looked toward the snow blowing past the doorway. Ethan looked back at his children. We need to return to the lodge. Noah's face changed immediately. Lucy stepped closer to Hannah. Sam backed into her boots. Ethan saw all three reactions. What? He asked quietly. No one answered. Hannah did not like the silence. They were scared before you got here, she said. Ethan's attention shifted to her. Of me? I do not know. They would not tell me. Noah looked at the floor. Ethan removed his gloves and crouched so he was closer to their height. Noah. The boy said nothing. Lucy. She crossed her arms. Sam shifted suddenly, silver fur fading until a 5-year-old boy stood beside Hannah in the oversized sweater. He grabbed the side of her coat. Ethan's face softened. Sam. The little boy whispered. We are not going back yet. The cabin went very still. Ethan did not argue. Why? Lucy answered before either brother could. Because you are sending us away. Ethan blinked. What? Noah finally looked at him. Silver Ridge. Something passed across Ethan's face. Recognition, but not agreement. No decision has been made. Lucy's eyes flashed. Then why did everybody else know? Ethan went silent. Hannah watched the question land. Outside, the storm pushed another gust of snow against the cabin wall. The man at the door stepped closer. Your Majesty, Daniel Price. The lower trail is almost gone. Ethan stood. How long before we cannot move? Maybe 20 minutes. Hannah looked at the children. Then at Ethan. If you force them out now, you may get them down the mountain, but you still will not know why they ran. Ethan's jaw tightened. I am aware. Are you? His eyes met hers. For 1 second Hannah expected the Alpha King to remind her who he was. Instead he asked, what do you suggest? That surprised her more than anything else. Let them talk before anyone decides what happens next. Ethan looked at his children. Noah held himself too straight. Lucy looked angry enough to shake. Sam was still clutching Hannah's coat. Ethan exhaled slowly. All right. Daniel stared at him. Your Majesty? We stay. The storm may trap us here. Ethan looked at Sam, then Noah and Lucy. Then we are trapped here. Hannah glanced around the one-room cabin. 1 table. 4 chairs. 1 narrow cot. 7 people counting the riders outside. You understand this is not a royal lodge. Ethan looked at the cracked window, the weak fire, and the oats on the shelf. I had noticed. Lucy almost smiled. Then Noah spoke. Dad. Ethan turned. If we tell you what we heard, will you listen before you explain why we are wrong? The same hurt sat behind all 3 children now. Ethan's face changed. Yes. Noah shook his head. Really listen. Ethan nodded. Really listen. Hannah moved toward the stove and reached for the kettle. The children had finally agreed to talk. The next problem was whether their father was ready to hear what they had been afraid to say. Hannah poured hot water into 3 chipped mugs and 1 dented tin cup while the children settled around the small table. Ethan took the chair farthest from them. Daniel stayed near the door, close enough to hear, but careful not to crowd the room. Noah spoke first. We heard 2 staff members talking last night. Ethan nodded once. At the lodge? Outside the library. Lucy leaned forward. They said Silver Ridge had room for all 3 of us after winter. Sam stared into his cup. They said we would live there. Ethan's expression tightened, but he did not interrupt. Noah continued. They said it would be better if we got used to being away from you. Hannah saw Ethan flinch. Small. Fast. Real. Lucy noticed too. And they said the council thought we were too dependent on the palace. On me. Ethan said quietly. Lucy nodded. Mostly you. Sam's fingers curled around his cup. I thought if we stayed, you would send us anyway. Ethan looked at him. I would not send you anywhere without talking to you. Lucy's eyes narrowed. But did you talk to us before they started planning it? Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. That silence answered enough. Hannah looked away, giving him room to be honest. No, he said finally. Noah's shoulders dropped a fraction. Not because the answer was good, because it was true. Ethan continued. Silver Ridge was mentioned as a possible seasonal program. Nothing was final. Lucy crossed her arms. Then why did they say it like it was? I do not know yet. Hannah set the kettle down. Did you ask them what they thought about going? Ethan looked at her. No, why not? He glanced at his children. Because I thought there would be time after I decided whether it was worth considering. Noah gave a short, humorless laugh. So we were supposed to be part of the conversation after the important part. Ethan's face changed again. That is fair. Noah looked surprised. You agree? Yes. Sam looked up. So we are not in trouble? Ethan leaned forward but kept his hands on his own knees. You scared me more than I can explain. That is not the same as being angry. Lucy stared at him. You looked angry when you came in. I was terrified. The admission softened something in the room. Hannah felt it. Noah did too. Mom used to say you get quiet when you are scared, he said. Ethan's eyes dropped for half a second. She was right. Sam leaned closer to Hannah. I do not want to go somewhere because people think I am weak. Ethan's gaze snapped back to him. Who said weak? Lucy answered. They said Silver Ridge would make us tougher. Noah added. They said royal pups should not need their father so much. The silence after that was different. Heavier. Ethan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. Needing your father does not make you weak. Sam blinked. Then why do grown-ups keep saying it does? Ethan had no fast answer. Hannah respected that more than she expected. Maybe because grown-ups confuse independence with being alone, she said. Lucy looked at her. Is that the same thing? No. Noah turned toward Hannah. How do you know? The question landed harder than he meant it to. Hannah looked at the fire. Because people sent me out last night for being something they thought was useless. Ethan's attention sharpened. Sent you out. Hannah instantly regretted saying it. Lucy leaned closer. Your pack made you leave? Hannah nodded once. Yes. Sam's face crumpled in confusion. Why? She took a breath. Because I have never shifted. Noah stared at her. You are Wolfless? That is what they call me. Ethan looked toward the door, toward the storm beyond it, then back at her. Something dark moved behind his eyes. Before he could speak, Daniel stepped inside, holding a small radio receiver. Your Majesty, I just reached the lodge. Ethan stood. What happened? Daniel's expression was careful. The pass is fully blocked. No wagons are getting through until at least midday. Lucy looked at Hannah. Sam looked at the fire. Noah looked at his father. Hannah looked around the cramped cabin and understood the reversal before anyone said it aloud. The king who had come to take his children home was not taking anyone anywhere. For the next several hours, all of them would have to learn how to stay. By 8 in the morning, the storm had turned the cabin into a small world of its own. Snow pressed against the lower half of the windows. The fire had finally grown steady, and Hannah discovered there was exactly enough food for one real breakfast if nobody complained about portions. Oatmeal, she announced. Lucy looked suspicious. Plain. Dried apples. Sam brightened. Maple sugar? Hannah checked the shelf. A little. Ethan stood from the table. I can help. Hannah looked at him. Can you cook oatmeal? I can follow instructions. Noah muttered. That is not the same thing. Ethan gave his son a look. Noah almost smiled. Hannah handed the king a wooden spoon. Stir. Slowly. For several minutes. Ethan managed well enough. Then Sam peered into the pot and frowned. The apples are too big. Ethan looked down. They are diced. Too big. Lucy nodded solemnly. He will not eat them like that. Ethan glanced at Sam. Since when? Sam shrugged. Always. The answer landed quietly. Ethan took the spoon out, found the small knife, and cut every piece smaller. Hannah noticed he did not defend himself. He only adjusted. A few minutes later, Lucy reached for the maple sugar. Ethan stopped her. That is enough. She stared at him. You do not even know how much I use. That looked like a lot. It is not. Hannah hid a smile. Perhaps the royal household needs a formal sugar policy. Noah laughed into his sleeve. Ethan looked offended. I am being outnumbered. You have 3 children, Hannah said. That seems permanent. Breakfast should have been awkward. Instead, something loosened. Sam ate 2 bowls after the apples were cut small enough. Lucy argued that cinnamon improved everything. Noah quietly added some to Ethan's bowl when his father was not looking. Ethan tasted it, paused, and looked at him. You knew I liked this? Noah nodded. Mom used to put it in your coffee. The room changed. Not dramatically, just enough. Hannah saw Ethan's hand still around the spoon. Lucy stopped talking. Sam looked down. Grief had entered without asking permission. Hannah did not rush to fill the silence. Instead, she gathered 4 smooth stones from beside the fireplace and placed them on the table. New rule, she said. Lucy looked interested. What rule? 3 questions. 1 honest question each. No avoiding. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Is this a Frost Hollow tradition? No. I just made it up. Sam grinned. Noah went first. He looked at his father longer than Hannah expected. Were you happier before Mom died? Ethan inhaled slowly. Hannah almost regretted the game. Then he answered. I was happy differently. Noah waited. Ethan continued. I laughed more easily. I worried less. But I have never looked at any of you and thought you were what remained after I lost her. Lucy's eyes filled. Ethan leaned forward. You are not pieces of grief. You are my children. Sam climbed out of his chair and moved to his father without hesitation. Ethan pulled him close. Noah looked down at his bowl. Lucy wiped her cheek with her sleeve and pretended she had not. Hannah turned toward the stove to give them privacy. My turn, Lucy said suddenly. She looked at Hannah. Why did you not beg your pack to let you stay? The question caught her off guard. Hannah looked at the snow outside. Because if I had to beg for permission to matter, I was already in the wrong place. Ethan's gaze settled on her, quiet and intent. Before anyone could say more, the crackle of Daniel's radio broke the moment. He stepped inside from the porch. The pass is opening. Noah's expression shifted. Sam moved closer to Ethan. Lucy looked toward Hannah. Daniel continued. Royal wagons are on the way. Maybe an hour. Hannah felt the warmth of the cabin change. The storm had forced them together. Now the road was giving everyone back their choices. And Hannah was not sure she was ready to learn what they would choose once they were free to leave. The royal wagons arrived before Hannah had finished folding the torn blanket pieces. She heard wheels crunch over packed snow, then voices outside the cabin. Lucy stood beside the window. Noah went still. Sam shifted into wolf form without warning and pressed himself against Hannah's boots. Ethan noticed, but he did not tell him to stop. You do not have to leave this second, he said. Sam's ears lifted. Before anyone answered, another group appeared behind the wagons. Hannah recognized the dark green cloaks immediately. Frost Hollow. Her stomach tightened. Elder Margaret Shaw stepped through the snow with 2 pack elders beside her. Less than 12 hours ago, Hannah had watched that same woman close the meeting hall doors behind her. Now Margaret's face held an entirely different expression. Hannah, she said warmly, as if nothing had happened. Thank goodness you are safe. Hannah stared at her. That is a new concern. Margaret's smile faltered. Ethan looked from one woman to the other. You know her? Hannah answered first. She is the elder who banished me. The cabin went silent. Lucy turned sharply toward Margaret. Noah's jaw tightened. Sam moved in front of Hannah again. Margaret glanced at the children, then at Ethan. Your Majesty, there has clearly been a misunderstanding. Hannah almost laughed. Which part? Winter decisions can sound harsher than intended. You told me there was no food to waste on someone who could not shift. Margaret's face lost color. Ethan did not raise his voice. Is that true? Margaret hesitated. Frost Hollow has suffered shortages. Difficult choices were necessary. So you chose her. She has no wolf, Your Majesty. She cannot hunt, patrol, or defend territory. Hannah felt the old shame try to rise. This time it did not own her. She looked directly at Margaret. I repaired half the winter coats in that village. Margaret said nothing. I worked the pantry. I mended boots. I carried firewood for families with sick children. You did not misunderstand what I contributed. Hannah's voice stayed calm. You decided it did not count. Lucy stepped closer to her. Ethan's gaze never left Margaret. Why are you here now? Margaret straightened. Because circumstances have changed. Hannah has demonstrated unusual value to the royal household. There it was. Hannah felt something colder than the snow. My value changed overnight. Margaret forced a softer tone. The royal children clearly trust you. Frost Hollow would be willing to restore your place. Noah looked at Hannah. Sam shifted back into a little boy and grabbed her hand. Margaret saw it and smiled too quickly. You see? You belong with us. Hannah looked down at Sam, then back at the elder. No, Margaret blinked. No, I am not coming back. Hannah, be reasonable. I am. She picked up the small bag she had carried into the storm. You did not want me when I was useful in quiet ways. Now 3 royal children like me, and suddenly I am worth feeding. Margaret's face hardened. You are speaking emotionally. I am speaking clearly. Ethan stepped forward then, but not in front of Hannah. Beside her. She leaves when she chooses, he said. Not when you command. Margaret's attention snapped to him. Your Majesty, I meant no disrespect. Then do not offer her belonging only after powerful people notice her. The words landed harder because he spoke them calmly. Margaret looked at the children again. Surely you understand Frost Hollow must protect its resources. Daniel, standing near the doorway, spoke for the first time. How severe is the shortage? Margaret hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. Ethan noticed. Daniel. Daniel looked toward one of the pack elders. The regional reports showed Frost Hollow receiving emergency grain 2 weeks ago. Hannah turned slowly toward Margaret. You had food. Not enough for everyone indefinitely. The second elder looked uncomfortable. Margaret, that is not what the vote was about. Margaret's head snapped toward him. Too late. Ethan's expression sharpened. What was it about? The elder swallowed. Reducing winter dependence. Those classified as non-essential. Hannah felt the word strike somewhere old. Non-essential. Lucy squeezed her hand. Noah looked furious. Sam stared at the floor. Ethan did not look at Margaret anymore. He looked at Hannah. You were not expelled because the pack had no choice. She understood before he finished. They had weighed her life against everyone else's comfort and decided she was easiest to remove. Margaret began speaking again, but Hannah barely heard her. The truth hurt. Strangely, it also freed her. She picked up her bag. I am done. Margaret stared. Where will you go? Hannah looked toward the royal wagons, then at Ethan. She did not want another place where belonging came with conditions she had not chosen. I do not know yet. Ethan nodded as if that answer was enough. Then Sam tugged her sleeve. Come with us. Lucy joined immediately. Please. Noah said nothing, but his eyes asked the same question. Hannah looked at all 3 children, then at their father. Ethan did not answer for her. He only said, You can come to the lodge as our guest. Nothing more unless you choose it. Hannah felt the difference. An invitation. Not a claim. Not a rescue. A choice. She looked once at Margaret Shaw, then stepped toward the wagon on her own. The royal lodge was warmer than anything Hannah had slept in for years, but she knew before the first night ended that she could not stay there. Rebecca Lane, the woman who managed the lodge, gave Hannah a quiet guest room overlooking the frozen pines and asked no questions she did not want to answer. Lucy left a book on her pillow. Noah brought her a mug of tea without being asked. Sam simply appeared in the doorway in wolf form and curled on the rug until he fell asleep. It would have been easy to mistake their affection for a future already decided. Hannah refused to do that. The next morning, Ethan found her in the breakfast room repairing a loose button on Sam's coat. They want you to stay, he said. Hannah did not look up. I noticed. Lucy asked if you could have the room beside hers. Noah asked whether I know anything about geography. Ethan almost smiled. Sam asked if you could come to breakfast forever. Hannah tied off the thread and handed the coat back. That is exactly why I should leave. Ethan's expression changed. You think they are becoming too attached? I think they were frightened, and I was the person standing between them and a bad night. You were more than that. Maybe. Hannah met his eyes. But if I come because your children need me, what happens when they do not? Ethan was quiet. She continued before courage left her. I do not want to become their governess because they were scared once. I do not want to become someone they are afraid to lose. I was not going to offer you employment. You were thinking about it. His silence answered. Hannah softened. I know you mean well. That sounds dangerous. Sometimes it is. Ethan looked toward the hallway where the children were arguing over who had taken the last blueberry muffin. Then what do you want? Hannah had spent so long surviving that the question felt unfamiliar. Work I earned. A place I can afford. Something that belongs to me because I chose it. Ethan nodded slowly. Rebecca knows of a vacant cottage near Pine Ridge. The lodge bakery needs winter help, and the sewing room has been looking for someone who can mend uniforms. Hannah narrowed her eyes. Royal favor? Rebecca told me yesterday. I did not create the jobs. And if I say no, then I find another way to respect the no. That answer stayed with her. By afternoon, Rebecca had shown Hannah the cottage, less than a mile from the lodge, but far enough to feel separate. It had 2 small rooms, a narrow porch, and a crooked chimney. Hannah loved it immediately and hated herself a little for how much. She accepted the bakery shifts and the sewing work. She paid rent from her own wages. Ethan did not interfere. The children complained. Lucy called 1 mile basically exile. Noah pointed out that 1 mile was not exile if there was a road. Sam asked if Hannah would still eat dinner with them. Sometimes, she promised. Not every night. Not every night. He looked unhappy but accepted it. That mattered. Over the next several days, Ethan began eating dinner with his children every evening, not at the formal table, but in the smaller family room. Noah talked more. Lucy argued openly. Sam stopped shifting whenever a guard entered unexpectedly. Dr. Emily Carter, the royal child healer, noticed first. He is learning that fear does not have to make the decision for him, she told Ethan. Hannah heard about it later from Rebecca and felt relief so strong it almost hurt. The family was healing. Exactly what she had wanted. Then came the quieter truth. If Noah, Lucy, and Sam no longer needed her to feel safe, what place did she have in their lives at all? That evening, Hannah sat alone in her new cottage with 3 small notes on the table, one from each child, and realized belonging felt very different when no one was depending on you to stay. For the first week, Hannah told herself the quiet was a gift. She worked mornings in the lodge bakery, spent afternoons in the sewing room, and returned each evening to the little cottage near Pine Ridge with enough tiredness in her body to sleep. The children did not appear at her door. Ethan did not either. At first that felt right. Then the notes began. Noah sent a page about Silver Ridge. He had decided he wanted to visit for 3 days before making any larger decision. Lucy sent a drawing of the old ranger cabin with 4 crooked people inside and 1 very round wolf. Sam sent no words at all, only 3 small wolves standing beside a woman with long hair. Hannah pinned all 3 notes near the kitchen shelf. By the second week, she realized she had started looking toward the road every time sleigh bells passed. She did not like that. You missed them, Rebecca said one afternoon while Hannah folded clean aprons in the bakery. Yes, all of them. Hannah gave her a look. Rebecca smiled and carried a tray toward the ovens. That was not an answer. Hannah returned to the aprons. The truth was uncomfortable because no crisis justified it. Noah no longer needed her to make him speak. Lucy no longer needed her to challenge adults. Sam no longer shifted every time fear entered a room. Ethan had started spending evenings with them without staff unless necessary. They were becoming a family again. Hannah should have felt only relief. Instead, she felt absence. Near closing time, the bakery bell chimed. Hannah looked up. Ethan stood inside the doorway alone. No royal guards. No Daniel. No children. Snow dusted the shoulders of his dark coat. He looked around the empty room as if he had forgotten what ordinary shops required from kings. We are closing, Hannah said. I can leave. That was not what I said. Something eased in his expression. He walked to the counter and looked at the bread rack. I need a loaf. Hannah glanced at the 3 loaves still there. Which kind? Ethan studied them far too seriously. The brown one. That is rye. Then rye. Hannah wrapped it slowly. Do you like rye? Not especially. She looked up. Then why are you buying it? Ethan exhaled. Because walking in and saying I wanted to see you felt too direct. Hannah stared at him. So you came for bread you do not like. Apparently. That is a poor strategy. I am discovering that. She slid the loaf across the counter. Where are the children? At dinner with Daniel. Are they all right? Yes. Silver Ridge. No problem. Pack trouble. None. Hannah folded her arms. Then why are you here? Ethan met her eyes. This time he did not hide behind the bread. Because I wanted to see you without them. The words landed softly, but Hannah felt them everywhere. Why? He considered the question instead of rushing to answer. At first, every reason I had to speak to you involved my children. That was convenient. Very. And now? Ethan looked toward the notes pinned near the shelf. He recognized the drawings immediately. Now they are doing better. I know. They still care about you. I know that too. But they do not need you to hold everything together. Hannah's chest tightened. No, Ethan looked back at her. And I am still here. Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Honest. Hannah looked at the rye bread in his hands. You could have just said that. I am trying. Kings usually have people for speeches. Unfortunately, none of them can do this part for me. Hannah almost smiled. Then he asked, would you walk with me? She glanced toward the window. The snow had stopped. Lanterns were beginning to glow along the winter market road. For how long? Until you want to turn back. That answer mattered. Hannah untied her apron. Fine. Ethan looked relieved. But you are carrying the bread. I expected consequences. They stepped outside together, and for the first time since the storm, Hannah was not walking beside the Alpha King because anyone needed saving. The winter market glowed beneath strings of amber lights, and for the first few minutes Hannah and Ethan walked without saying anything important. He carried the rye bread under one arm. She kept her hands tucked into her coat pockets. People noticed them. Of course they did. A few nodded to Ethan. Others looked at Hannah longer than politeness allowed. She tried to ignore it until two women near a cider stand whispered just loudly enough for her to hear. That is her. The wolfless woman the royal Pups chose. Hannah kept walking. Ethan noticed her expression. Do you want to leave? No. Do you want me to say something? Also no. They passed a stall selling carved ornaments before Hannah finally stopped. That is what bothers me. Ethan waited. First I was worthless because I had no wolf. Now suddenly I matter because your children chose me. She looked at him. Neither one is who I am. Ethan did not rush to reassure her. Then tell me who you are. The question caught her off guard. You already know. I know what happened to you. He shifted the bread to his other arm. That is not the same thing. Hannah looked toward the lights. I like quiet mornings. Ethan nodded. All right. I like fixing things people think are too worn out to keep. That explains the sewing. I hate being watched while I work. Useful information. I want a home that is mine because I chose it, not because someone allowed me to stay. Ethan's face softened. Hannah continued. I want work I am good at. I want people who do not make me prove I deserve a seat at the table. I want silence when I need it. She glanced at him. And I do not want anyone deciding that being chosen means being owned. Ethan held her gaze. Good. Hannah frowned. Good. Because I do not want a governess. He stepped closer, but not enough to crowd her. I do not want someone to replace the children's mother. I do not want a woman who stays because 3 pups became attached to her. Hannah's heartbeat changed. Then what do you want? The woman who tells me when I am wrong. A small smile touched his mouth. The one who left a king holding rye bread he does not even like. Hannah laughed despite herself. Ethan's expression turned serious again. And the one who stays only when she wants to. Something warm moved through Hannah's chest. Not magic exactly. Not yet. More like a quiet pull beneath the ribs. Ethan went still at the same moment. His eyes sharpened, not with dominance, but recognition. Hannah felt it too. An old instinct. A possible mate awareness. Her pulse quickened. Then another sensation came with it, strange and distant, as if something sleeping deep inside her had turned in its sleep. Hannah stopped walking. Ethan noticed. What is it? I do not know. For 1 second she thought of Frost Hollow. Of every person who had decided her wolf did not exist because it had never appeared. A faint warmth flickered under her skin, then faded. Ethan said nothing. Hannah looked at him. Do not make that important. I was not going to. If I never shift, I am still enough. Ethan answered without hesitation. I know. The words hit harder than any declaration could have. No surprise. No disappointment. No sudden excitement over what she might secretly be. Just acceptance. Hannah exhaled slowly. You really mean that? Yes. Even if whatever that was never happens again. Yes. She studied his face and found no calculation there. You are getting better at answers. The children are relentless teachers. Hannah smiled. They started walking again. This time, when their hands brushed, neither moved away immediately. Ethan did not reach for her. Hannah appreciated that too. Near the end of the market road, snow began falling again, soft and slow. Ethan looked toward her cottage lights in the distance. I should get you home. Hannah raised an eyebrow. I know the way. I am aware. Then why say it? He looked almost embarrassed. Because I would like to walk you there. Hannah considered him. That is different. I am learning. She nodded. All right. They continued side by side. No guards, no children, no crisis waiting at the end. And for the first time in Hannah's life, the possibility of being chosen did not feel like someone else deciding her worth. It felt like being seen clearly and still being given the freedom to choose back. By early spring, the last snow around Pine Ridge had begun to sink into the earth, leaving the road muddy and the roofs dripping in afternoon sun. Hannah had kept her cottage. She had kept her work. She had also stopped pretending Sunday dinner at the Royal Lodge was temporary. That morning, a messenger had delivered 3 envelopes from Silver Ridge Academy. Noah opened his first. "Summer trial," he said, scanning the page. Lucy opened hers and made a face. "No." Ethan looked at her. "You have not read it yet." "I already know I do not want to go." "Then read it anyway, so you know what you are saying no to." Lucy considered that fair. Sam, still too young for the program, climbed onto Hannah's chair and tried to inspect both letters at once. An hour later, the answers were clear. Noah wanted to try Silver Ridge for 2 weeks. Lucy wanted to stay home and join the lodge's spring riding lessons instead. Ethan accepted both. No council vote first. No private discussion afterward. Hannah watched him hand the decision back to the children and felt something warm settle in her chest. This time, there was no mystery in it. Only pride. That afternoon, all 3 pups came to her cottage. Noah carried firewood from the shed without being asked. Lucy straightened the crooked sign beside the porch and declared it unacceptable. Sam shifted into wolf form and chased melting snow from the yard until he was muddy from nose to tail. None of them clung to Hannah. None needed reassurance that Ethan would come back. They were simply there because they wanted to be. Hannah realized that difference quietly. The first night, they had chosen her because fear had made the cabin feel safe. Now they chose her when nothing was wrong. Ethan arrived later carrying a covered dish and looking suspiciously pleased with himself. "What did you bring?" Hannah asked. "Dinner." "Did you make it?" "No." "Good." Lucy called from the porch. "Ben did." Ethan sighed. There are no secrets in this family. They ate crowded around Hannah's small table. Noah talked about Silver Ridge. Lucy argued that riding was more useful than academy lectures. Sam fell asleep halfway through dessert with his head against Hannah's arm. When the children went outside with Daniel to check the horses, Ethan stayed behind. The cottage grew quiet. He looked at the 4 empty plates, then at Hannah. "I have a proposal." She raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." "Sunday dinner. Every week you want it. Here. Sometimes here. Sometimes the lodge." Hannah studied him. "That is the proposal?" "Yes." "Not a palace room?" "No." "Not a title?" "No." "Not some ceremonial position involving formal clothes?" Ethan smiled. "I value my life too much." Hannah laughed. Then he grew serious. "I do not want you because the children chose you." Her chest tightened. "Good. I want you because I know who you are when nobody needs rescuing." The warmth beneath her ribs stirred again, deeper this time. A quiet answering pull moved through the space between them. Hannah knew what it might become. She also knew it did not have to decide anything for her. "And if I never shift?" she asked. Ethan did not hesitate. "Then nothing about this changes." Hannah looked at the man who had once arrived in a snowstorm expecting to take his children home and had instead learned that home could not be commanded. She reached across the table and took his hand first. The bond warmed. Her choice came before it. "Sunday dinner," she said. Ethan smiled. "Sunday dinner." The door opened a minute later, and 3 children rushed back inside, talking over one another. Lucy claimed Hannah's left side. Noah took the chair near the window. Sam climbed into the empty seat between Hannah and Ethan, muddy boots and all. Hannah looked around the table and understood something she wished Frost Hollow had never made her doubt. Being chosen had not made her valuable. Being wanted by royal children had not created her worth. It had only brought her to people who were learning to see what had always been there. Outside, the final snow slipped from the roof in a soft rush. Inside, nobody asked whether she had a wolf. Nobody asked what she could earn, prove, or become. They only passed the bread, argued over dessert, and made room for her at the table. For Hannah, that was enough. More than enough. It was home.